Well, I mean, I think there's levels of extinction, right? You have the extinction that happened in Spain, then you have the extinction that happened in southern Italy. I mean, no one talks about what happened to Muslims in southern Italy. Al-Mazari, I mean, you had great fuqaha from Mazara, which is still the southern tip of Italy, is a town called Mazara. Muslims in southern Italy were there for around 400 years. They disappeared because of opulence.
Yeah.
They didn't disappear because of the Inquisition. They disappeared because of opulence. Sicilian Muslims were just like pasta to death. You know what I mean? They weren't kicked out; they were kicked in. So when I say extinction, I don't necessarily mean a violent, insurrection, but I think the way that identity politics are playing, especially in America, under the entire Republican Party, right? I think Trump is just a pawn, and he wants to pawn them. I don't think he cares. And then you have Russia, like putting a lot of money into funding Islamophobia through some of these.
I know a lot of people have touched upon that, and that's a huge challenge. What the Russian agenda is with regards to
Islam,
to Muslims.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't forget what happened in Afghanistan. I think we're up against a very sophisticated set of challenges in the Western world. That, I mean, so when I talk about extinction, I don't necessarily mean violence. I mean dunya, man, like taking people out, right? I think the second challenge.
There was the hadith of the Prophet, I think that comes to mind.
Yeah, and then coupled with that is kind of like a very intense secularism. Like Islamophobia is very much an extension of an aggressive form of secularism. Islam is antithetical to secularism, right? We say we make dhikr in all situations. We remember Allah in all situations. So that is a challenge. I think the second challenge is Muslim unity across the board, and the ability to turn that unity into some kind of collective agenda and power is the second issue. That's kind of what you're talking about. How do you create collectives of power? And I think the third challenge for the Muslim is going to be, in particular, Arab states. When Egypt happened, when Tunisia happened, when Mauritania happened, before all of them, when things started to happen in Syria, there was a lot of hope that even people outside of those nationalities, outside of those countries,
there was an affinity towards it.
Not only an affinity, a vitality that was given to the people.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like, we actually have a place in the world that we can flee to. We actually have a place in the world where maybe we can rest our heads one day. We can contribute. A lot of young people, I remember when it happened, a lot of even non-Arab young people were like, I'm ready to take my professional talents and contribute to rebuilding these societies, helping out with infrastructure. A lot of medical professionals were ready to go and serve. So I think that the third piece is I don't think the Arab Spring is over, man. I'm not overly depressed by all of that. I think if anything, it's exposed certain. I don't think people knew how deep the nexus of problems were in the Arab world. And I think the reaction to the Arab Spring, Obama's silence, the neoliberals and the role they played in the death of the Arab Spring will never be forgotten, right? So it was a hard lesson to learn. It was a very hard lesson to learn. It still hurts. And I'm not even Arab, I can imagine, right? But I think we learned a lot from this, and I think that our community, I mean, you think about the importance of Muslim leadership in the world. Muslims historically, when we've done well, have been able to impact everything in a very positive way. Climate change. Capitalism is destroying the world. I mean, I'm not a communist, but I'm saying unhinged capitalism is responsible for our environmental problems.
Yes.
Labor issues. Look at Muslim countries where, people always, we want to take a group of kids to Mecca or Spain. We want to take a group of Muslim kids to Turkey. I said, no, take them to a sweatshop in Bangladesh. Right? Take them to see what they wear, how this impacts. And don't just get rid of it because these people are going to lose their job. And you're not going there on some kind of white savior trip, right? But go and see like the economic nexus of the corporate world. And I believe that the fourth challenge is going to be I think we're headed for a time where look at Elon Musk, look at Bill Gates, look at Mark Zuckerberg. Corporations are going to be becoming more and more important and powerful. And I'm interested to see what happens with in particular the Arab world. I think that the Arab Spring had a hiccup. I don't think it's over.
It's definitely, I think you're right in pointing out that by no means is it done, and definitely for those who work and live here and are aware of the kind of social aesthetics of what's going on and the underlying issues, there's no way that this is it, that there isn't going to be another transition or another wave of things near or future. I mean, there's too much inequality, there's too much social oppression, there's too much potential that's being pushed down for it not to, for some sort of
and it's a tidal wave, right? It's a tidal wave. Yeah. You can't hold people down like this. And it's
and you point the demographics, the age. You're talking about the vast majority of people being young. They still have a lot to give.
And who hasn't learned are the people in power. They become worse.
Yes.
You would have expected they would have thought, hey, we need to perhaps lead with a lighter hand. Whereas in fact, it's heavier than even the time of Sadat and Nasser. And they're the ones who haven't learned, right? So I suspect that younger generations, hopefully in a peaceful way, in a wise way, are going to make some changes.